What's up, guys? We are live here on the YouTube channel. Today, I got one of these new arms for my mic. I'm pretty excited about it. So today we're talking about Cobra Kai, more season 3 than anything, but we'll definitely talk about all the seasons if that's what you want to talk about. If you're in the live chat, leave your favorite moments from Cobra Kai season 3 especially, but anything else. So I dropped 2 videos on the channel this week talking about Cobra Kai. The first one was negative, and I'll get into kind of the reaction to that. It's kind of funny because I don't really I don't react to whether people love or hate the videos. Of course I want people to love stuff, but this one was funny because it was the most negative reaction I ever got. I just checked a second ago here, and it is sitting at 10 likes and 47 dislikes. So I would say that's a pretty negative reaction. But you can't beat engagement. So that was talking about one particular character in season 3. Then I decided to make a video talking about all of the different character development in Cobra Kai, because I think it was actually very uneven. I think they spent a lot of time developing certain characters, and then other characters really didn't get a whole lot of play. So I talked about that. That one didn't get the velocity the negative one did. That was a little disappointing, but at the same time, what are you going to do? So we'll pick up some of the things that I missed. But what I wanted to talk about tonight were my favorite moments from specific episodes of Cobra Kai. You in for that? Hit like if you haven't. If you're not subscribed, why not? Go ahead and do it. It's free. Hit subscribe down below. Hit the bell. You know when I go live. Now, I do plan on doing a live every Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. So make sure you join. Next week's topic, I'll give at the end of this live tonight, okay? So jumping right in, let me get to my notes here. First episode of season 3 is called Aftermath. Now, in that one, that's where things come to a head, and the town ends up having like a meeting, like a town hall, talking about like how toxic the karate society is and how terrible Johnny and Daniel are for bringing karate back to, California. One thing I loved about this is when they're having that town hall, so one of the people in the crowd actually tells Daniel that he heard he was the bully, which is actually a throwback to season 1, basically, where they kind of turn the paradigm where Daniel ends up being the bully for a certain period of time. And that came from a fan theory about Cobra Kai, where they said, Daniel was a real bully, and they made a case for it. That video is on YouTube. Like, you can look that up. It's called Daniel is the Real Bully. It's actually a really fun video. And I feel like the creators are definitely inspired by that. So I really hope they gave that guy a shout out at some point. Another thing from that season is that it's the debut of the John Kreese cutout in the Cobra Kai series. Now, if you don't remember from Karate Kid Part 3, John Kreese jumps out from behind the cardboard cutout of John Kreese, and the joke there was they had basically played up that Kreese was dead and Terry Silver took over Cobra Kai. And it was funny when they finally scared the bejesus out of Daniel. Kreese comes out from behind the cardboard cutout. Now, it didn't happen in this season, but I really hope that cutout comes into play the same way in season 4. It better happen because that was just too good. Let's see here. What do we got in episode 2? Episode 2 is called Nature versus Nurture. I'm not going to do like episode synopsis or anything. You can watch the show if you want that. This is the episode where the Kreese flashbacks start. I thought that was really cool because it's kind of like, like a 50s diner, almost feels like Back to the Future. One thing I love about the show is they do throwbacks to other movies. Some are intentional, and some actually all are probably intentional, but some are easy to pick up and others probably not so much. But I feel like the diner scenes were definitely, intentionally supposed to remind you of Back to the Future. The bully looks like it's supposed to be Kreese. They don't really tell you who's who in that until it kind of plays out. And what ends up happening is you find out that this little nerdy guy who's the server or busboy at the diner ends up being John Kreese. But I think a fun little Easter egg is that bully is actually driving the car that Miyagi gives to Daniel that he waxes in the first movie that is also in the series now too, which is kind of pretty hilarious. And that's where also Daniel and Johnny have this little like Tango and Cash, team up where they're on the mission to kind of save Robbie from himself, kind of thing. So I thought that was kind of cool. I don't know if that's the one. I think that's the one where they actually fight the guys in the chop shop. But that was also a pretty awesome scene where Daniel and Johnny are actually joining forces and they fight these criminals. And in the mix, they actually get into another fight. I think it's funny how they tease us with all the fights between Daniel and Johnny, and then like they basically pull it away from us every time. It's kind of sucks, but at the same time, I feel like we need to move past them fighting each other. Looks like we got some people lighting up the live stream. We got my cousin Pat. Shout out to cousins JJ and Dante. Shout out, guys. And then we got Brian G in the house tonight. Pretty awesome. Thanks for joining, guys. Anybody else in the live chat, drop a message. Let me know what you loved about Cobra Kai Season 3. Episode 3, here's some references and stuff that I really liked. That's the one where Johnny visits the guy Bobby, who was a former Cobra Kai in the church, and he keeps calling him like pastor or whatever. And that was kind of really funny as it was, and it pisses off that guy enough where he sweeps the leg. He basically sweeps Johnny in the middle of that whole discussion. What I love about it is in the original Karate Kid, that guy is the guy who has a problem sweeping Daniel's leg, his weak part in the tournament. So this guy finally musters up the will to sweep somebody's leg, and ends up being Johnny. And the cool thing is he's in church and he actually like begs for forgiveness before he does the sweep the leg. It was definitely like very obvious that that's what they were going for. I thought that was pretty cool. Another thing from You're Gonna Pay, and by the way, the episode names have their own Easter eggs. You're gonna pay is what Johnny tells Daniel in the first Karate Kid when they're beating him up when they're dressed like the skeletons right after the Halloween party. In episode 3, one thing I really loved is, when you watch these reboot shows, I keep calling this a reboot. It's not really a reboot, it's a continuation, but it's like the next generation type show. And when you watch these shows, they always like pander to the younger generation and they show more of the younger kids, which is exactly what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to be a jumping off point for, new people to love that franchise. Well, in this show, I feel like they do enough. I feel like there's a good balance of the newer characters with the older characters. I feel like they don't overdo the younger characters. So in that episode, the new Cobra Kais get like a motorbike introduction, just like the original Cobra Kais did in the original movie, which I thought was really cool, actually. Episode 4 is called The Right Path. Now, this is where the things got a little too cute for me. Daniel ends up taking a trip to Japan. Now, the story is, and I will take a swig of water. By the way, we're temporarily making the beverage of the night water for the next few weeks. Reason being, just got to slow it down a little, guys. Got to get back on track, get my water consumption up. But the right beverage for tonight would have been a Coors Banquet. So Daniel's competitor ends up cutting off his supply of Japanese cars from a company called Toyota. In order to save that, what Daniel decides to do is take a trip to Japan. Now, you know what was coming. He while he's over there, he's going to go to Okinawa. And that's all well and good. I think it's great that they went back to Okinawa. I think they did a really good job with that. I think they did a good job in general with the season, but I thought they did a good job with that in general. So all of his attempts to actually do business with Toyota fail, okay? So he gives up. And the other funny thing is, and I don't know if this was just because of the placement of the props in the episode, but I feel like that was shot to be kind of like Lost in Translation, the Sofia Coppola movie with Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson. So I thought that was another kind of good reference. Greg Eckert, YouTube is not letting me see your comment. So he does that, and he fails. So he goes to Okinawa. He's walking through the town square, and he comes across like the Okinawan dance, and it ends up being Kumiko doing the dance with some younger children, and she notices him in the crowd. Okay, so we're getting a little cheeky, and it is what it is. And then the episode actually ends where they're in a bar kind of reconnecting, and it's kind of funny, and it's it's a whole thing. And they even like show the ice, like the ice that they're drinking over looks like the ice they break in Karate Kid 2. And that episode ends on a cliffhanger where somebody yells to Danielson, and then the episode kind of ends. Now, of course, this is set up for binging, so you're not going to just stop there, right? So you the funny thing is, when like obviously that was chosen, we knew that was what was coming, right? But I thought what was funny about that whole thing was he calls him Danielson. Now, if you know a little bit about Japanese culture, I know very little, but what I do know is Danielson is actually would be a sign of respect. So you already kind of know that he still doesn't have a problem with him. So that was kind of funny. So episode 5 kind of picks up with that. But the cool thing I thought about that episode, other than what I just told you about the ice, is that back home the kids are having a fight on the soccer field, and kind of concurrent with this. And that fight is actually set to the same music in the original Karate Kid Part 2, where Daniel does the ice breaking against Chosen, where he does, this whole thing, So I thought that was kind of awesome. I thought, setting it back with that music was a really good kind of thing to do. Need a quick sip of water here, guys. Drying up a little. Episode 5 is called Miyagi Dough. Now, this is a continuation of the Okinawa story. The episode starts up with a montage from Karate Kid Part 2. Now, if you missed this, go back and watch it carefully. There are actually deleted scenes cut into the original. When Miyagi tells Daniel, this is not tournament, this is for real, Daniel actually turns around to him and says, I know. Now, if you remember the original Karate Kid 2, that he doesn't say that. He just looks back at Miyagi with kind of a really like he's scared, like he kind of realizes, that hey, crap's real at this point. So I thought that was kind of a really cool Easter egg, and they do that quite a lot. This is the episode where Johnny and Miguel go to a Dee Snider concert, and they play Kickstart My Heart. But what I really wanted to see in that episode was, and Brian G is going to love this, I wanted to see Dee Snider do a cover of Burn in Hell to kind of give us kind of a Pee-wee's Big Adventure throwback. Didn't happen, but what are you going to do? Another thing that was funny about this episode was stacked with funny stuff, and this was also the Yuna episode. So at the end of the story in Okinawa, Kumiko introduces Daniel to a lady who ends up being Yuna, who was the girl he saved in the windstorm. Now, I did a whole video about that. That's the one with 10 likes, 47 dislikes. And I feel like that went a little too far, but we're not going to go there right now. But the funny thing is, right before that happens, Chosen shows Daniel kind of a new pressure point move, like a new special move he can use to, defend himself. Daniel kind of needs these, special attacks. He can't defend himself on his own. And at the end of that, they kind of walk down the mountain together, and it's like super awkward, and Chosen just basically walks away like nothing ever happened. Like they were just, hey, see you later. All right. So I thought that was funny. They kind of set up all this stuff, and it ended up just being All right, so they trained together for a little while, and then that was the end of it. So we are halfway through season 5. Let me go check this live chat. I'm kind of switching between a couple tabs here just to see if we got some new stuff. The other thing I did on my YouTube channel, and I turned off post notifications for these. I posted a couple of YouTube shorts, which are less than 1 minute vertical videos of the videos I did. So if you saw those and you want to leave me feedback, that would be appreciated. I'm trying to tailor the content to make stuff that, you know, is sustainable for me. I'm working full time too, so it's hard to balance all of it. Let's jump right back into Cobra Kai season 3, episode 6, King Cobra. So take a guess who the King Cobra is. Obviously it's Kreese, right? So in that episode, there was only one thing I thought that was like super cool in this episode. This was a lot of plot development, kind of try to get us lined up to the end of the season. Kreese declares open season on Daniel and the entire Miyagi Dough. Now, that was a callback to the original Karate Kid, where, you know, he basically says it's open season on the little worm or whatever they call him. There's a lot of name calling in that original movie. Episode 7 is called Obstáculos. It means obstacles in Spanish. Not to insult your intelligence. Obviously, if you know Spanish, you'll know what that is. And I probably pronounced it completely incorrectly. Daniel takes Samantha for a walking tour where the tournament is held, and he shows her the exact spot where he almost lost to his fear. I thought that was really funny how they worded it that way. Like, what? Because in Karate Kid 3, that's what Miyagi tells him. You know, it's okay to lose to your opponent, just don't lose to fear. So, like, it's funny that they actually like called it out just like that. And that's the one where Johnny names his new dojo Eagle Fang because he's broken away from Cobra Kai now. He calls it Eagle Fang as an homage to Iron Eagle. Now, I'm kind of curious whether the Fang is a reference to anything else as opposed to, you know, just like a Cobra Fang. I don't know. It's difficult for me to say, but I think it's funny that the kids are like, eagles don't have fangs. I thought they did a good job with that. Episode 8, The Good, the Bad, and the Badass. So I think that's kind of like supposed to be the rivalry, right? So you got the good, who's supposed to be Daniel, the bad is Kreese, and the badass is Johnny, obviously. And notice in this whole thing, like, Johnny kind of doesn't really have a gigantic role in this. He does a lot of cool stuff, and he kind of has a redemption story throughout the season, but it's just a lot until the next episode. But in this episode, I forgot who said this line, but somebody says Mr. Miyagi used to say, if you're looking for revenge, you can start by digging 2 graves. And that was actually a line from the original Karate Kid as well. So I think that's kind of another cool reference, right? So at the end of that episode is where we get our introduction to Allie Mills, or reintroduction. She's Daniel's girlfriend, or Johnny's girlfriend from Karate Kid 1. Daniel steals her from Johnny. And even though she dumps him for some guy, that they explain at the beginning of Karate Kid Part 2. It's our introduction to her. At the end of the episode, they kind of give us this little teaser, kind of over the shoulder kind of thing. And we meet her mom, and she ends up going on a trip to meet them, or to back home, whatever it was. I don't remember exactly that part of it. I pay attention to the badass parts, not the ancillary characters. But in episode 9, Feel the Night, that's when Johnny reconnects with Allie. They end up having an entire date at golf and stuff. And it's like the exact same song that's playing from the original movie, right? They did the same montage in season 1 where the kid, I think it was, Miguel and Samantha, they go to the same place and play mini golf and do all the fun stuff. They pick something at the gift counter, and the gift counter actually got a lot of play in season 3. The Cobra Kai's actually bullied a kid at that. And Feel the Night's the name of the song that's playing. That's the name of the episode. Kind of cool. Quick break for some beverage. Nothing lighting up the live chat here, guys. All right, we're back. We're up to episode 10. I love this. This is where they have it starts with kind of the country club party. They show the chefs preparing the food at this party at the country club where Johnny and Allie are hanging out with Daniel, and trying to find the right position for this not to be blocking most of me. Here we go. The chef tells his sous chef not to skimp on the sauce. I thought that was hilarious because if you remember in the first movie, Daniel knocks into the waiters and he's wearing like all white and he gets spaghetti all over his chest, and there's the whole scene where he's on the floor kind of rubbing his chest. It's funny. And so this is where, and the episode's called December 19th, which is the date of the tournament. I believe from the original Karate Kid. Could also be the upcoming tournament as well. This is the episode where Cobra Kai is essentially born. Now, I got to talk about this for a second. So they explain there was a theory that Cobra Kai and Miyagi Dough actually had similar roots. I'm sure if you're going to trace it all the way back, Cobra Kai or every karate kind of started at the same place, right? But I think that it was kind of cool that they explained that Cobra Kai started out being a Korean style. Okay. So Miyagi Dough is Japanese from Okinawa. And now we know Cobra Kai is from Korea. They also call out the exact style of Korean karate that it is. Now, if you can do me a big favor, so I have a heating system right here, and this mic is supposed to not give the sound through it. Did the sound change in the last 30 seconds? Give me a thumbs up if we still sound all right. All right. I think we're good. So they call out the actual style of Korean karate that it was founded on. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it. Tang Soo Do. Now, the funny thing about Tang Soo Do, when my brother and I were younger as teenagers, I was a teenager. I think he was younger. But we actually studied Tang Soo Do. There was a place on Route 17M in Middletown called Hong's Tang Soo Do. And we trained with Master Hong. And we made it to our black belts. It's funny that I'll post the picture to Instagram later, but we made it to black belt in this karate called Tang Soo Do, which is the same karate that became Cobra Kai. So I have kind of an indirect link to Cobra Kai if you think about it. I haven't practiced that karate in over 25 years, but who's counting, right? So back to the story. That episode's a lot of flashback where Kreese is in this detention camp with two buddies, and the guy with the ponytail, they misdirect. They want you to think that's Terry Silver, who it wasn't. The other guy was Terry Silver, but Kreese ends up having to fight his superior officer. And the cool thing about it is, Kreese kind of learns his ruthlessness streak in that moment, because he has to make the decision to, let the officer die. There was the air raid that kind of distracted everybody. And, he lets his officer die in the, the snake pit. And that's kind of the Batman story, of John Kreese becoming the Cobra Kai guy. So I thought that was really cool. And where the season leaves off, I think it kind of leaves a lot open. And I feel like the first 3 seasons were a lot of nostalgia. And I feel like there's going to be a change in season 4, especially now that Netflix has their hands on it. Now, Netflix is notorious for not letting shows do a long run, but I think the creators said they're going to go for at least 5 or 6 seasons. So we got 2 to 3 seasons left to go. Or they want to go longer. They actually told Netflix to give them some runway when they actually think that the jig is up with the Cobra Kai story. So where do I think things are going? I think, for one, we're going to see Terry Silver come into Cobra Kai. I hope we do. I mean, they spent the entire season 3 kind of in flashbacks giving us that story development. So I really hope we do see that. I think we're going to see Mike Barnes. Okay. I think in some capacity, Mike Barnes is going to come into their life. I don't think it's going to be as straightforward as Mike Barnes, Kreese, and Terry Silver against Johnny and Daniel. I think there's going to be a twist. There's always a twist. Nothing happens in a straightforward way on Cobra Kai. They always kind of take the original and twist it. I didn't mention at all the character Tori, who is the girl who Samantha is afraid of the entire season. Now, I think that in season 4, I think we're going to get to know who her mom is. Now, why do I think that's important? The creators early on, now I watched this show before it came to Netflix. I was a fan of it when it was on YouTube Red, when YouTube Red was a thing, and then it became YouTube Originals. I think her mom, then now, okay, let me, I'm jumping ahead. So they said that all the Karate Kid movies are canon for this show, which means they can pull from the source material of all the Karate Kid movies. I think that even includes the Jaden Smith, to be completely honest with you. I feel like there's a possibility at some point we're going to get a Jackie Chan at least cameo, especially now. I don't know if you guys are following the news, but there's a lot of backlash for the story being actually too white. I read an article that was saying that, given the subject matter, there should be at least one Asian lead. I actually don't disagree with that. I think that they kind of dropped the ball. I know Chosen was a quick storyline, but I feel like they could have kept him around longer in some kind of organic way. I mean, they made the girl who Daniel saved in Karate Kid 2 save his entire business and throw away an entire storyline. So I don't see why Chosen couldn't come back for, more than a few episodes and be a main character, but, to each their own. But back to Tori's mom. This season, they basically talk about how Tori's taking care of her mom who's sick, and that's how she gets out of going to child detention, right? I think there's a good chance her mom is either Julie, the girl from Karate Kid 3, that's supposed to be the love interest, but ends up being just a platonic friend. Or I have a feeling that it could be, I'm sorry, I said Julie. Julie is the next Karate Kid, the Hilary Swank Karate Kid, who is the other person I think it is. What was the girl's name in Karate Kid 3? If you remember, drop it in the chat. That's like the one thing I can't remember about Karate Kid 3. She was such a non-character to me. She kind of made an impact and then went away. But I think it's either of those two people. And the reason why I'm more leaning toward it being Julie, the next Karate Kid, is that, number one, they said Hilary Swank has not turned down an offer to be on Cobra Kai. So that's number one. That means that they've entertained the idea. Number two, when they introduced Tori in season 2, she has some knowledge of karate. She actually knows what she's doing. So I feel like that gives them a little bit to play with in terms of Miyagi Dough versus Cobra Kai dynamics. So I feel like even if we get an admission that that's her mom, that explains a lot and actually would give a little bit of interesting story there. So it's not just like, okay, this girl's ruthless and she becomes the lead bully for Cobra Kai. It gives her a little bit to the redemption story, because if she finds out that, the karate she learned was Miyagi Dough, maybe she doesn't know that. I don't know. But I think that's one thing that's going to happen in season 4 that we have to look forward to for Cobra Kai. Now that Daniel and Johnny have linked up, I mean, obviously, something has to happen with Kreese. I think they set it up for a redemption for his, story. It's kind of weird how Kreese in the current time really hasn't done anything. Like, he basically has been a jerk since the first time he stepped on the screen at the end of season 1. So I feel like there's a lot to play with there. I feel like they really have to do something with Samantha this season. And in season 3, she really didn't have a major role. I said in my other video, she did a whole lot of nothing. She was basically just running from Tori the entire time. So I feel like they need to do something with her. I don't know what. Honestly, I think they've kind of painted it back into a corner. I got water all over myself. I think they might be building to like a dual tournament or something. They have to showcase both, the girls and the guys. I think it would be unfair if they didn't do that. So those are a couple things that I think are coming to season 4. I can't wait. I heard they're shooting in April, which means we might see it at the end of this year, but more likely probably in 2022, which is kind of a bummer. But we waited some extra time. It was Cobra Kai season 3 was supposed to come out in March. I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, after they announced the lockdowns and stuff. I remember like checking every day for like a release date for Cobra Kai, and then when I saw it was delayed because Netflix actually acquired it. First of all, I was actually overjoyed because watching it on YouTube kind of stinks. The way YouTube originals are set up, they you can't like select episodes. You can only get them in suggested or go to a very specific place. And when you go to that specific place, you can't actually pick the episode you want, which is weird. But so it's on Netflix, and now we can watch it whenever we want, as long as you're a subscriber to Netflix. So hopefully by 2022 we get the series 4. I think they got a lot of things they could explore, but I think we're going to start seeing less and less nostalgia, and we're going to start seeing some new stories develop. So that's basically everything I wanted to talk about Cobra Kai tonight. I didn't see any new messages in the chat, but let me talk for a second about next week's stream. So, we're fans of spicy stuff on the channel here. Next week, we're tasting these. These are hot sauces. I'll read them to you. It's called the Hot Sauce Sampler Food Truck Foodie Finds. I hate that word, foodie. Crazy Sue's Original Orange Sauce, Dragon's Breath Green Sauce, Garlic, One Farmer's Market Garlic Del Fuego, Bourbon Pepper, Victor's Taqueria Mexican Style, Hawaii Style Grub Lava Flow Red, Pizza Truck Revolution Fiery Diablo. So we're going to try these, and I might even bring out the last dab and make it a little interesting just in case these end up being total duds. So that's one thing we have to look forward to. New Dining Review Saturday, of course. Funny story about that. We had plans to go to one place to get takeout, and we called all afternoon. And when we called, they said, we're sold out of orders. Okay, well, what does that mean? It's the middle of a pandemic. Aren't you doing mostly takeout? So we ended up having to call an audible, and we went to our neighborhood restaurant and got some pretty awesome food. So you're going to want to check that out. I usually drop those reviews first thing in the morning on Saturday. So when you wake up, it'll be ready for you. So there's that. Looks like we got Cousin Mike in the building. What's that about the Bomb Beyond Insanity? So I showed those sauces that I'm going to taste next week. And if they're weak, I'll bring out the Bomb Beyond Insanity. I know you guys wanted to see that live. So might as well bring that onto the stream next week. I'm also going to be hopefully testing out some new streaming software. So the stream might look a little different next week. I might have some overlays and things to make it look a little interesting, because the plan is to go all in with the streaming stuff. I want to do a live stream every week, 7:30 p.m. on Thursday. I got this microphone arm, which hopefully makes it a little easier for you to hear me, and makes me, because I have like no desk space here. So there is that. Next week, I'm back with the recipes. The recipe I'm dropping next week is chocolate fondant, which is Gordon Ramsay's molten chocolate cakes. You're not going to want to miss that one. I go spicy in that one too. It's a lot ridiculous. So that's a good one. And then, yeah, guys, that basically wraps everything up. I have a link to support the channel via my Buy Me a Coffee. And my ebook is there, still $5. I'm going to leave the price there until I hit my sales goal. I have probably a handful left to that sales goal. If you haven't liked this video, please do that. It really helps this get out to more people. Like I told you, last week I think we hit 500 subscribers, which is crazy. And in the last few days, it's been like 2 a day at least. Like some days there's like 4, some days there's 0, but it's been really, really cool to see the channel grow. Want to make it to 1,000 subscribers. So like, if you know anybody you think would like the content on the channel here, share it with them. That basically wraps up tonight. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate everybody who took the time to actually sit here and listen to me talk about Cobra Kai. For anybody who is watching that is catching up after the live stream, I'm going to leave some links on the screen here that you need to check out. All my recipes, all my dining reviews, and just a general link to subscribe to the channel. Thanks a lot, and I will talk to you guys next week.